it is a known fact,
right,
that they need children. They, this is a deep part.
Let's talk about it, brother.
You have blood sacrifices that they use with children. They used for example, Sandra Bullock, because I'm going to make sure I give enough references so that people can go see what I'm talking about. Sandra Bullock was being interviewed by Ellen DeGeneres. And Ellen DeGeneres told her, well, I get, facials. She said, what do you do to look so young? She said, well, I get different facials. And then she said, well, which facial do you get? She said, well, I get something called a penis facial. She said, well, no, it's not what you think. She said, it's the serum that comes from the circumcised skin of little babies.
But what is it?
It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract.
It's foreskin from a Korean baby. That's what it is.
Okay.
Who comes up with this?
I don't think, it's not like I'm lying there with little pieces all over my face.
Who thinks of collecting it and having it we'll do something with this someday.
And why didn't we come up with that?
Right. We'd be rich.
And so we call it, I call it the penis facial. And I think when you see how good it is to your face, you too will run to your local facialist and say, give me the penis.
This is what Ellen DeGeneres said to Sandra Bullock, and she verified it. She said it's what comes from the skin, the cells from circumcised skin from Korean babies.
Right.
Brother, think about this. Your children, now this brings a whole new understanding to circumcision, and then we'll go to the, because they also use DNA from children, aborted fetuses in. That's another thing. And it's called the penis facial, just like they have the blood facial. They have all this stuff to look younger.
Right.
Which means you have to have an ample supply of children in their circumcised foreskin to be available. So this is giving an incentive to medical officers and hospitals to get more circumcisions when you may not want to. They encourage you to do that because they use those samples for other purposes. Same thing with the aborted fetuses of children. They use that DNA for a multitude of things, including creams, etc., but also to preserve them. If more people knew about that, they would have less children in hospitals, less babies in hospitals. We have to understand what they're doing. As long as you understand what they're doing, then you can make whatever decision you want to make. Okay. Tell people what you're doing. Tell them, so that they can make their decision.
Right.
That's my point. And then of course, but also that means children have to be targeted because this has to fuel an industry. Sure. You have to have an ample supply of this thing. So that means now children have to be targeted. Just like with certain organs, if people put donor on the list, you're going to be targeted because there are more people in need of organs than those who are able to donate them. That same thing with the umbilical cord. Some people naturally, depending on culturally, how it's being used. There, for example, the umbilical cord has the stem cells that are so strong. It's concentrated, life-giving, organisms in that. So some women will they'll blend it in a blender with fruit, etc. Culturally, and there's a lot of stuff we forgot. A lot of stuff we were never taught about our culture and how things are used, because that's how they use them. They will put lavender on the once the full sac comes out, you let it continue to pump. Through into the child. You're not supposed to cut the cord. That's another thing that they make a lot of money from, is the cord clipping. And they use those stem cells to go put them in creams and shots and all that for other people to try to keep them younger. That is worth millions of dollars. But see, a lot of this stuff is happening with our sisters because they don't know. And if they've told them, listen, don't touch my umbilical cord, let it fully pump until it stops pumping, and then it falls off on its own. Just so you know, when a baby is born, it falls. All this is very real. So all that life-giving stuff, and then that sack, people blend it with fruit and all that, and they drink it. Or I'm just being honest, or they put it blend in creams because it's life-giving organisms in that.
So you just, the
pharmaceutical industry knows that. That's why it uses it. That's my point. When you're doing at-home birth, when you're doing a water birth, etc., those are the things you have.
I get that, but what about you in the hospital?
You can tell them that you want it, but when you're in the hospital, you volunteer. You're signing the paperwork to where basically whatever comes out of you outside of your child belongs to them.
Oh, wow, really?
Seriously. That's in the documentation. You have to read it, but that's why they always, women who know this, women who have babies, who don't have the man next to them, first thing I'm gonna tell you, have a man with you and a woman. I'm not being misogynist or whatever, but you need to have some security there. Because there's a lot of things that they do when you're in a stupor, you're out of your mind. Because you're in pain. And so they know that. So they sit right next to you, right when you're going through these heavy contractions, and they tell you, sign this here. Sign this. We need your signature. Can you sign this? They do it when they know you're unaware of what's happening. This happens all the time. Women who are in the hospital, they'll tell you, hell yeah, they put that paperwork right next to us. Like, get the hell out. Yes. They'll say yes.
Sign
it. Yes. They know. They don't wait until you're coherent, because they're doing things that are underhanded that if you knew what you were signing, you more than likely would not sign it. That's why a lot of women are no longer having their children in these hospitals, which rightfully so you're not supposed to. You need a doula, you need a midwife. We need more doulas in our communities. We need more women.
What's a doula? I know midwife is. What's a doula?
Yes, a doula is the one who goes into the cultural understanding of how to prep the environment to make sure spiritually it's clean, emotionally it's clean. You know, your queen does not watch anything negative, horror films, anything like that for at least the last 2 or 3 months before she has the child, because all of that has energy and spirits and all of that. So she preps the woman. The midwife is the one who has the license, the nurse, and all that kind of stuff. And the doula sometimes can have that too. You can have a midwife who's a doula too, but the doula, for the most part, is the one who preps the environment so that the birth can be as smooth as possible, as beautiful, candles and sage. That's the nutritional plan too. Also, midwives also handle the paperwork for you too when you have the baby at home. So they handle the legal side too. The doulas will handle the environmental side. But again, sometimes both of them have the same amount of knowledge, a little more, whatever. But you do that because you had your baby at home. Your child is safe. It's in the environment that you control. Ain't nobody over here abusing, taking advantage of, whatever. It's there 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10. The man is there with you too.
Right. Especially
if it's a water birth. It's done properly. Gravity. So you're squatting. So there's no pain. You're not supposed to be lying on your back when you're having a baby.
What?
No. That's a European way of doing it.
Sure.
Culturally, just be very specific.
Sure.
But when it comes to our people, no, it's done in a squatting manner. It doesn't take long. It comes out smooth. That's how the baby's birth is supposed to be. Water births are better, of course, to stay moisturized and to help with that. And then it's a smooth transition. The baby was in a water sack that whole time.
Right, sure.
So they come out in water and the baby gets clean. Bring the baby up, you go skin to skin, and the baby starts to memorize and connect.
Okay.